Hi everyone, it's Denise from Dobby Books, and as promised, I'm going to share my book haul with you. So over the week, I did get a few books. Most of them I think I got over the last day or so, over the last 2 days. I got nothing up until that point. I guess I just got the bug and had to leave the house and do a little book shopping. So this is what I got, and I really regret I should have filmed this first trip I made. I went to Thomas Aquinas College, which I refer to as TAC. It's a beautiful Catholic college that's in Ojai, California, not terribly far from me. And I like to visit there a few times a year because the campus is just beautiful. It's very relaxing. I go to the bookstore, I get a few books, I walk into their, their chapel, which looks more like a small basilica. It's absolutely stunning. And I should have recorded my day there, and I completely forgot. And what I love to see on the campus is when I'm there in the middle of the week, during a when the semester is in session. What I see there is not noise. What I hear is not noise. What I see there are students sitting on the steps of the chapel or on the little benches they have under the trees. Sometimes they're sitting. It has a historic California mission look. So that the outdoor walkways outside of that particular architectural style, which shades you from the sun, but it has those arches as you move your way along. I see students sitting in there reading as well, and it's such a different sight than your standard college campus, which can be a little noisy and rowdy and busier. This is a very different ambiance for anybody who ever comes to Southern California. If you love books and you're curious about this college, do pay it a visit. It really is such a beautiful campus. All right, enough blabbing. This is what I got. As you all know, I have a list of books from various titles, and I have the book list from Thomas Aquinas College that the students use for freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. And I have finished getting the books from most of the books from that list for the freshman year, which is ancient Greece, ancient Rome. Now I'm finishing up, except for one or two books, the sophomore year, which that's when they're dealing more with early Middle Ages and sort of towards the end of the fall of Rome. So 5th century onward is what seems to be that time period for the sophomore year. And what I got was this on the book list is by Epictetus, the Handbook. And this refers to, and I don't know if I will be able to pronounce this properly, Encheiridion. And no, I'm not too sure what it's about, but it was on the list. This is translated by Nicholas White, and it's just the Handbook of Epictetus, who lived from 50 to 130 AD. And I want to see if I can give you some info, but it's just introduction, Handbook of the first line, some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. So this ought to look interesting. But I'm sure as I read it, I'll fill you in on it. Now, this is something that I might end up reading since I've passed this particular time period. Yeah, 130 AD is when he passed away, and I'm already in the 5th through 7th century right now. This is something that I'm more than likely going to be reading for quarter one Historathon next year. Okay, unless I, get inspired and decide to read it this year. So that's the first one. The second one I got is by St. Augustine, Against the Academicians and the Teacher. There's 2 writings. I've gotten a lot of sources by Augustine. And as you know, I like to get primary sources when I'm studying through history rather than narrative histories. And this fits the bill, but I've got now 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4, now 5 sources from Thomas Aquinas. I think I'm good right now. if I could just read a snippet of the little blurb in the back. It says, "How is knowledge possible?" In Against the Academicians and the Teacher, Augustine confronts the problem of knowledge as posed by the skeptics of late antiquity and offers what came to be seen as the definitive Christian response. His critique of skepticism and his theory of illumination, his explanation of how knowledge is acquired, will interest students of Hellenistic and medieval philosophy, epistemology, philosophy of language, and semiotics, as well as students of Christian thought. This looks so interesting. Let's see what happens. And Augustine was from, I know he was in the 5th century. Apparently this was written in 386, and the one on the Teacher in 389. So this is from the 4th century. Okay, so Against the Academicians and the Teacher by St. Augustine. And the third one that I got at TAC, also from St. Augustine. So now this is 6 sources. This one is entitled Selected Writings on Grace and Pelagianism. And Pelagianism was a heresy at that time in the 4th century. No, I believe Pelagianism came into the, if I'm not mistaken, Pelagianism came after St. Augustine, but his arguments that he made in this text were so perfect to argue against Pelagianism later. So if I'm wrong on that, I'll let you know. This one's much thicker. This one, I want to make note that this book I got used. I didn't realize that the duplicate books that were on the very bottom shelf of each section were the used copies of the new ones that I was looking at on the first 1, 2, 4 or 5 shelves. Those are all the new books. And the ones at the very bottom were used. So this one is listed as $24, and I don't have the list in front of me, but the price on the back says $39.95. It's very likely that the students were not charged this much for a new book. I noticed that Thomas Aquinas College sells it below the retail price here for the students in general. And to get it for $24 was even less than that. So I got it, I grabbed it. So this one, let me read you a snippet. Of the different controversies that preoccupied Augustine during his lifetime, Pelagianism was indisputably the most important for the subsequent history and theology of the Western Church. It touched on any number of issues central to Christianity, most notably grace, predestination, original sin, and baptism, all of which in turn could be reduced to the fundamental question of the exact nature of the relationship between God and his human creation. So this is interesting. Let me see what the chapter breakdown is. So, after a general introduction, we have what looks like miscellany. Yeah, miscellany of questions in response to Simplician, so they look like letters. The second part, the punishment and forgiveness of sins and the baptism of little ones. And there are, looks like 2, 3 books on that topic. The next section is on the Spirit and the letter. Looks like it's talking about scripture there. Nature and grace. Then the predestination of the saints. The gift of perseverance, and that's it. So again, this looks like it's something that I will be reading next year during the first or second quarter of Historathon, possibly. And the fourth one that I got at Thomas Aquinas was Kepler's Astronomia Nova, and this is just selections from that. More of an explanation. I think I have the entire book. Do I? No, it doesn't look like I do. They did have the full-size book there as well, but as you look through it, I guess if science were a big interest of mine, I probably would have gone for the full-size book. But because this is a list of selections and it breaks it down into the important concepts and teachings, for someone like me who's not really super strong in this type of science, I think this is the better option. Much thinner. This one again was a used copy. I don't know what the original price was, but this one I got for $3. I did good. And let's see if we can find a snippet on the back. Johann Kepler wrote Astronomia Nova in 1609 in a single-minded drive to sweep away the ancient and medieval clutter of spheres and orbs, and to establish a new truth in astronomy based on physical causality. Thus, a good part of the book is given over to a non-technical discussion, key phrase, of how planets can be made to move through space by physical forces. This is the theme of the readings in the present module. And it goes into which topics are covered in this particular book. But yeah, like I guessed, it was the perfect source for someone like me who just needs to keep it simple when it comes to science. So this is a good one. Yes, this was written in 1609, but I also noticed that some things written later can be applied to an earlier time in history that you're studying. So these were the 4 books that I got at Thomas Aquinas College. These 4 here. And all but one of them, all but one of them have a religious tone to them, but that was very much life in the Middle Ages. And just the one had science. All right, so those are the 4 I got at TAC. And then the other 2 I got were more of my Newbery Medal Winners collection. So the one from 2024, if I'm not mistaken, was The Eyes and the Impossible. I went back to look for I thought I had this. I didn't. So I ended up finding a very beautiful edition of this book. It's not shaped like a standard book would be. It's a little bit longer. And this one, and it's heavier, and the quality of the paper, it's a thicker paper, and it has that semi-glossy look to it. And interspersed throughout the book itself are these beautiful illustrations. Absolutely beautiful. And that really did it for me, because I thought, okay, this is something I want. A beautiful book is always, it does justice to a good book. Oh, there's another one. Just stunning, just beautiful. And did you know, just looking at images of nature actually help to calm you down. It actually lowers blood pressure, and it's very good for your health. Did you know that? Whether you're actually in nature or looking at images of nature, it accomplishes the same thing. So I think that's so cool. So this is, I believe, the 2024 Newbery Medal winner, The Eyes and the Impossible by Dave Eggers. And on the back it says, Johann is a free dog, a free and fast dog who lives in a park by the sea. His job, as the Eyes, is to report all that he sees to 3 ancient bison who help keep the equilibrium of the park for all the animals who live within. But new arrivals from afar upset that equilibrium and change Johann's ideas of himself and his world. Will he be able to restore things to how they were? And should he? Sounds good. And the last one I got is the current Newbery Medal winner. This book does not yet have the gold seal on it. All the Blues in the Sky by Renée Watson. And of course, the new ones are obviously going to be a hardback. I don't have as many of those. I have a few of those, of the hardbacks, but that's good because then you get your first editions. And on the back of this, it says, No, actually, the inside cover. Sage's 13th birthday was supposed to be fun, staying up late with her best friend and watching the sunrise together. Instead, it was the day her best friend died. Without the person she had to hold her secrets and to dream with, Sage is lost. In a counseling group, she learns that not all losses are the same and healing isn't predictable. And even as Sage grieves, good things enter her life. Steps taken toward her dream of becoming a pilot, new friends, a first kiss, and she just may find a way to know that she can feel it all. That sounds like it's going to be a very beautiful story and a bit of a tearjerker for me. All the blues in the sky. 2026. Let's see. If this was published in 25, this was published in 2025, so it's the 2026 Newbery Medal winner. And there we go. These are the two books, and I believe I got these at a Barnes & Noble. Different one than I normally go to. These are the two books that I got, Newbery Medal winners. So in total, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books for the week. So thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day, and I'll see you in just a few days. Bye-bye.